So this is a great facility. I have visited many, and what is done here in terms of health care for animals, the boarding, the attention they get is extraordinary. So I appreciate the work you do year-round, and I appreciate you hosting us today. And got to see some of the pets that are available for adoption. And we urge responsible owners who want to own a pet to come in and look at some of the dogs and cats that are here. I was holding one called Wednesday. She had good taste. She wanted my Senate pin. And so there's a lot of great animals with some great taste. Hi. Oh, all right. Okay. So, I appreciate being here with people who work all the time and with animal lovers. I am a proud dog owner myself. I have a puggle named Freddie, who is every bit a member of our family as anyone else. He gives us we draw a lot of affection and love from his antics during the course of a day and his affection. And I'm pretty sure that the rest of my family members like having him around more than they even do me. Like any dog and animal lover, it really upsets me when I see or hear of animals being abused. Worse, when these Neanderthals keep dogs and cats and other animals in deplorable conditions, beat or starve them, and get away with it. I have spent my career in Congress fighting to protect animals from abuse and speaking out for those who do not have a voice. I'm recognized by the Humane Society of the United States as a humane champion, now 8 years in a row for my work. And I'll tell you, it's one of the most significant achievements of my career because animals are an extension of our family. They are part of our humanity. They create an incredible warmth and love and affection. They teach our kids how to care for others. It's incredibly important. Now, another thing I'm really proud of was introducing the first of its kind legislation to honor the service and sacrifice of military war dogs with an official commendation. I had no idea that they had no official commendation for the work they do to protect our soldiers, and we want to change that. So we've done some good things. But I fear our progress is under assault by this new administration. Now, some of you may have heard that the Department of Agriculture, or USDA, just made it easier for animal abusers to get away with this mistreatment. Until recently, commercial dog, cat, and horse breeders, research facilities, zoos, aquariums, even circuses who abuse their animals could not do so in the dark. The USDA's Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service shined a light on those misdeeds to both hold these abusers accountable and deter others from mistreating their animals too. They publicly shamed puppy mills and others who preyed on helpless animals by posting online all records, inspection reports, licensing information, and other vital data to prevent abuse. Some people call this transparency. I call it human decency. But last week, the Trump administration scrubbed all animal cruelty information from the USDA's website. Just like that, it was gone. Now, here in New Jersey, we take animal abuse very seriously. In fact, state law prohibits New Jerseyans from purchasing an animal or pet from a puppy mill or breeder cited by the USDA for animal cruelty. But because of the USDA's decision to wipe this information from public view, we can no longer see if a breeder has tortured puppies and kittens. No one can tell if the dog or cat they're getting from a local pet store has been abused. New Jersey and 6 other states with similar laws on the books cannot even enforce their own laws as a result of the USDA's actions. That's unacceptable, and we can't stand for it. So today I am sending a letter to the USDA demanding public access to this critical information be immediately restored. The letter has been co-signed by 17 of my Senate colleagues. I also want to know who was involved in making such a poor and misguided decision to give animal abusers a free pass, and if anyone from the administration pushed for this. And to me, while this in and of itself is important enough, this is also about more than just animal cruelty. It's about the broader issue of transparency and what the next 4 years will look like under President Trump. Because this White House seems to operate in an alternate universe, peddling alternative facts. And we cannot stand idly by and let critical information on public issues, which ultimately the public depends upon, be suppressed. Now more than ever, we need greater government transparency, not less. We need to make sure that we have this information for all to see. We can't have a fact blackout. The real facts must see the light of day. It starts with making sure you and everyone in New Jersey has the right to know if their pets come from someone who's abused them. But it goes much further. This is about complete transparency with government information. That's why I have also co-sponsored legislation that would forever prevent the suppression of government public information based on the political whims of any administration, or because a politician doesn't agree with it or it makes them look bad. It doesn't matter if it's about animal cruelty, climate change, health statistics, job numbers, hate crimes, or any other piece of critical public information. The government routinely collects data, conducts scientific and technical studies for the public good, the results of which must be accessible to the public. So we're going to continue to fight in the Senate for greater transparency, for the protection of animals, but we can't do it alone. If we're going to be heard and be successful, it's going to take all of our collective voices saying in no uncertain terms, no to animal cruelty, no to suppressing public information, no to unethical practices that harm innocent creatures, and no to alternative facts.
The USDA, in its statement, as you probably saw, claims that taking down these records was something they've been considering since last year. Do you believe that, or do you think this was orchestrated by people within the Trump administration?
Well, look, I have serious concerns. We see there is a series of different areas in which the administration in 3 short weeks has begun to take down information. In some cases about climate change. Many of their bilingual pages have been taken off, just to mention a few. So I think that the message to the rather diverse departments of the federal government is to provide less information, not more. And that's a wrong direction. This one is critical in terms, as you've heard, all of those who advocate all of the time. It's critical for consumers to know where their pet may be coming from, to make sure that they're coming from a safe environment, a healthy environment, and it is critical to the animals that we are trying to protect to be able to have that information out there. So I don't necessarily buy that this was brewing, but if it was, it's not acceptable either way. But I think we are living in an environment that in 3 short weeks, instead of seeing the same or more information, we are seeing less and less information for the public. And these are dollars spent by the United States government, therefore the taxpayers, on a whole host of information gathering and data acquiring. It seems to me that taxpayers deserve to see where their money is being spent and how it's being spent and what that information is.
From what I understand, this could in part stem also from a lawsuit that was filed charging violation of privacy. It may have something to do with the Tennessee walking horse soaring legal case, saying that putting this information, that much information up there is a violation of the privacy of the individuals and their companies.
Well, first of all, I don't accept that a lawsuit is the reason to chill public information. And to the extent that there is any privacy issue affected by the listing of those who create cruelty to animals, which is pretty mind-boggling in my mind, then the answer to that is not to eliminate all of the information, but it is to tailor whatever the courts may have said. Now, I'm not aware of any judicial determination that says that this is a privacy violation. So therefore, I don't accept that as a proposition. To the extent that we get any court rulings that suggest that, I think it can be tailored in a way that significant public information is still provided without dealing or without infringing upon whatever privacy issues the courts have determined. But I'm not aware of any. And I'm not about to easily let the USDA off by saying, well, some lawsuits. The way we respond to lawsuits and information is to make sure that there is information, and when in fact there is a consequence in any legal action, we respond to that consequence, but we don't wholesale do away with information. That's just unacceptable. And if we start down the principle, in this case we are talking about animal welfare, but if we start down that principle, we won't know anything the government's doing.
So what information have you been given about why this public information has disappeared?
Well, we are requiring from the department a explicit process as to how they came to this conclusion, who was involved in the decision making, and we haven't received that yet. Some of the early suggestions at a staff level that I've gotten is because they're concerned about certain litigation. That is not the reason to automatically wholesale take off information. And so we'll get to the bottom of how they made the determination, but I don't find that as a legitimate excuse for the wholesale wiping of this information off of the public domain.
And formally, they have told you nothing.
Not yet. We just began our inquiries, so. Anyone else?
So the letter that you'll be giving them, do they have to, I mean, obviously they won't be mandated to comply, but what specifically are you asking them to do?
We're asking them to restore the information as it was before, where the public could go on and say, is this breeder, is this puppy mill, is this any entity that has ultimately had a history of being abusive to animals would be listed, so that you would avoid that. You would comply with our state law and the state law of 6 or 7 other states as well that require it. Right now, the federal government's actions here undermine the ability of New Jersey state laws to be fulfilled. But at the same time, it undermines the ability of consumers to make sure that their pets are coming from a safe and healthy place. So we want that information to be restored. And I think looking at the list of my colleagues from the Senate who have signed on, and those of us who are going to press, some of them sit on the Appropriations Committee that funds the Department of USDA. I'm sure that we will have their attention and hopefully a positive response. Anything else on this question? Okay, if not, then we'll...
It's a list of breeders that are not reputable, and is there any other information that pet stores and other...
Yeah, this information included, among other things, inspection reports, research facility annual reports, lists of persons licensed and registered under the law, as well as persons licensed by the USDA certified horse industry organizations and associations to inspect horses for compliance with the law, and also those who actually violated the law. So it had a very large set of information. We obviously care. The last time I checked, New Jersey was number 2 per capita in the nation in horses. People don't think of the Garden State that way, but we were number 2 per capita. The U.S. equestrian train obviously trains here. We have the Meadowlands. We want to make sure that horses are treated well too. Well, I have legislation against horse slaughter, and so the bottom line is all of this information for all of our pets and animal welfare was out there for the public to make determinations on, and that has now been erased. That's not acceptable.